my discussants. First, I would talk about the first discussant, who is a highly accomplished Ghanaian development consultant with a robust education, business administration, and also project management background. As the regional manageress of Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industries Cape Coast branch since 2009, she has played a pivotal role in promoting economic development in the region. Mrs. Mensah also holds a Bachelor of Arts in Education, that is French major and English minor, and an MBA in General Management from UCC. Her distinguished career spans multiple roles, including administrator at the National Mobilization Center, translator at Allswell Chamber, Takoradi, administrative assistant at VAT Service in 2007, and also the regional manageress at Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Her research focuses on the strategic management of SMEs in entrepreneurship and effective private-public partnership for economic development. Her expertise and experience make her a valuable asset to the Ghanaian business community, and her contribution to economic development are truly commendable. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Mrs. Benedicta Anita Mensah. And please, okay. Yeah. A round of applause, please. Okay. So next, as someone who has 33 years of experience in agricultural extension and rural development in areas such as educating, training, and advising farmers, farm-based organizations, community-based organizations, institutions, and agricultural extension workers in general crop production, livestock production, non-traditional farming, agro-processing, microcredit financing, initiating and strengthening agricultural commodity chain linkages, and also in water management. He has a PhD, MPhil, and a Bachelor of Science in Agricultural Extension, all from the University of Cape Coast. And also has a postgraduate certificate in Agricultural Administration from Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration. And in addition, he has received extensive training in related fields from recognized institutions and organizations in Ghana and other countries, including South Korea and Japan. His objective has been to build a long-term career in agricultural extension and rural development, agricultural value chain development, and agribusiness, and create a stable workplace. Let's welcome Dr. Peter Kofi Omega. Thank you, Doc, for joining us. Now, I introduce Mr. Peter Ipin Nankop, who is the president of Graduate Students Association of Ghana, and he's a PhD candidate in business administration, specializing in public policy and management at the School of Business, UCC. He is a senior course tutor at the College of Distance Education, where he teaches public sector management, self-management skills, and procurement principles and practice. His research focuses on public management, leadership, and sustainability, with publications in high-ranking journals. He has been a participant of Ghana's National Education Forum and Stakeholder Engagement Forum of DHAB, UCC. He has presented at international conferences, including the Association of West African Universities Conference and also African Network for Internationalization of Education, which demonstrates his expertise in sustainability and internationalization. Please welcome Mr. Robert Nankop. It's also my privilege to introduce another discussant, who has risen through the health service delivery ranks to Deputy Regional Director of Clinical Care and Acting Regional Director of Health Services. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Biological Science, a Bachelor of Medicine and Surgery, and a Master of Business Administration, all from the University of Cape Coast. In addition, she has a Master of Public Health from Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration, that is GIMPA, a Leadership and Management in Health certificate from the University of Washington, a Leadership Empowerment from the University of Buffalo, and a certificate in Global Health from Harvard University, all in the US. She is a specialist in family medicine and a member of the West African and Ghana Colleges of Physicians. In her current dual leadership roles, she leverages on her extensive knowledge and experience to shape health policy, improve healthcare delivery, and mentor the next generation of health professionals. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Dr. Mrs. Agnes Achiama Anani. Please, you can do it better, please. Finally, I want to introduce the Central Regional Director of Education, that is Mr. Emmanuel Asuman, who studied at the University of Cape Coast, where he obtained his first degree. He later pursued a master's degree in business administration, that is finance, from University of Science and Technology. He also holds an executive certificate in counseling. He has risen through the service ranks due to his determination to make a continuous positive impact in education. He was an MS officer at the Asante Mampong Municipal Education Office and also the Kumasi Metro Education Office. He then was appointed the District Director of Education for Dwaboso in the Western North region in the year 2018. On 7th June 2023, he was appointed as the substantive Central Regional Director of Education. So, ladies and gentlemen, I've been hinted that Mr. Suman is on his way. So, as and when he gets in, we're going to welcome him to the discussion. So, as the MC engaged participants, we had a lot of expectations. And there are a lot of things that we expect, and I'm sure, as some of the participants said, we expect that we'll be able to, at the end of the day, bring out some collaborative strategies where industry can now collaborate with academia, and then so that the research that we conduct will be able to relate to what they do and more. I heard someone also mention something which also relates to expectations related to the reforming of postgraduate programs to reflect what industry actually does. So we're going to begin the discussion, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your attention. And so we'll begin the discussion, and I want to first go to Mr. Nankop. You are a postgraduate student, and in talking about the synergy between or among academia, research, and industry, it comes back to the research that postgraduate students conduct. What are the key challenges for postgraduate students in terms of translating the research you conduct into industry-relevant solutions?
Thank you, moderator, and greetings, participants. Yes, so for me, the gap between industry and education research appears in our context, especially in the African context, to be widening every day in out. Because when you look at data from other advanced countries, it appears that before you gain admission to study a postgraduate program, there is already an existing framework where you are going to be fit into a particular lab. Then through training from that lab, you are able to acquire some skills and you are fit for industry. But in the other part of our world, it seems that is not the case. So that is why there seems to be that gap. So other areas like the advanced sciences I mentioned, they have a thin line, but in our case, there is a big gap which we have to look at the bridge that can cross that divide. So coming back to your question, I can mention some few that are noticeable. That is a lack of a well-designed framework from the aspect of the government that will coordinate internship programs on our university or tertiary campuses. So we know that education in the long run will build economic growth and drive change. So if there is that framework from the government perspective that can lay the clear way schools and industry can collaborate, that could be one of the ways. But unfortunately, that is lacking, and I think that that is one of the challenges limiting postgraduate students' research into practical world. Another one is institutions these days, especially tertiary institutions, are rather competing. I see there is a competition for numbers in our tertiary institutions than competition for quality and that of skill set that postgraduate students will need to drive industry growth. So I'm looking forward that if institutions can beat down the competition and look at cross collaborations that can commercialize even student work, that could be a starting point. And I see that as a because institutions are yet building. The other one that I will mention go around is research funding. So like I mentioned, there is no national framework direction that gives thematic areas where postgraduate students can fit their research. So because of that, postgraduate research is self-funded. And I am aware there are some applied research works that if you want to conduct, the kind of levels of test analysis that you do to fit industry, because of funding constraints, you are not able to carry out that test. And that is a limiting factor. So for postgraduate front, we are ready for knowledge acquisition. But our challenges is how research funding can propel our ideas into fruition. Maybe perhaps before the next person is that of industry academia collaboration. In fact, the academia are doing their best to reach out to industry. I know most schools, especially University of Cape Coast and other tertiaries, they have some form of internships attached to some postgraduate programs. But most of the times you reach out to industry and they are not ready to accept postgraduate or research students to be able to explore their organizational resources, look at the problems in their organizations, and even acquire some skills. So the readiness of industry to allow that kind of collaboration is lacking, and I think this is one of the challenges.
All right. So thank you very much, Mr. Nankop. So that is interesting, but I'll come to Dr. Omega and find out your general perspective of this academia, research, and industry collaboration that we're talking about, and also being in the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, how you think academia and research institutions can contribute to solving Ghana's agricultural and productivity challenge. Yes, that's.
Yeah, thank you very much, moderator. I'm happy to be in your midst today. This is a very important topic that you've chosen. I'm saying this because earlier on, the first MC talking about you see students' thesis, postgraduate students over there. Let me talk about the situation. There was a time, as the regional director of agriculture, I deemed it opportune to come to University of Cape Coast, precisely School of Agriculture, to talk to the dean about how best we can make use of this thesis. And we had a round table discussion pertaining to this. And they brought out a lot of students' theses. And we put it before them. Look at this situation. You have all these theses. Do you mean to say that you don't have a communication strategy that can, send this out to the industries? Is that okay? Yes. There is nothing like that. So we came in to make this appeal, and they made it available. University of Cape Coast recently developed some varieties of cassava. Those varieties of cassava, students play a role in it. And now farmers are interested in these varieties of cassava. So this is what we are looking for. If you take agriculture, if you look at agriculture, we look at the soils, we look at planting materials, we look at the production itself, and we shouldn't forget, we have other input suppliers, and we have traders, we have those who process the agricultural produce, and we have those who consume. And apart from that, we have service providers. They all need data. They all need information from our research institutions. Most often we depend on Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR. Meanwhile, if you take Central Region, for instance, the closest research institutions that we can talk about is University of Cape Coast. Yes, they are doing a lot. We just had a program at my office where Poultry Farmers Association, came together, and they called one Professor Hagen to take them through what they should do to improve upon their industry. Professor Hagen is from UCC, School of Agriculture. He's still there talking to the farmers. He's still there talking to the farmers. Same applies to our postgraduate students. We can make good use of them. But let me say this before I continue. I wasn't happy when you look at academia, research, and the end user without putting in those government institutions like Department of Agriculture. The collaboration is universities or research, academia. If it's Department of Agriculture, it should come in, and then the farmers. Without Department of Agriculture, I don't think the research findings will be able to reach the farmers. Yes, because all the time we say research, they speak big language, and Department of Agri Extension officers have to break this academic language to the simplest form for the farmers to pick. So the collaboration should be that. Okay. So as I was saying, we need academia, where postgraduate students are, the research, we need it, so that our farmers can make use of the research findings. Apart from that, we have been hearing all the time that we've been importing agricultural produce or products, namely poultry, vegetables, rice from the outside world. Why all this? At times when they talk of vegetables, they say tomato. Burkina Faso tomato is better than that of Ghana. The variety that they are using, does it mean that our researchers cannot get us that variety? So these are some of the things we look at. So academia, industry, we need you, provided you are doing the right thing. I want to give a clear example too. One time there was this professor who was able to develop a cassava variety we call ampon. So when they released ampon, farmers started producing ampon. But at a point in time, they came with this problem that ampon is fibrous. If you allow ampon beyond 8 months, it becomes fibrous. So we informed the researcher about this, and he was not happy about it. He was not happy about it. But the point is that the industry is telling you, this is the situation. What can you do about it? And they are not taking it. So we expect academia research to look at what industry needs. What they need. What the farmers need is the cassava, it should not be fibrous. They can keep cassava for more than 1 year before they harvest. So we need to look at this. So the postgraduate, we have a lot of things that we can do.
Okay.
We have a lot of things that we can do. So if you look at the value chain so far as agriculture is concerned, we have a lot there. So we need you people. The undergrad, there is this internship. But postgraduate, I don't know why universities are not allowing postgraduate students to do that. Yeah, so these are some of the things.
Okay.
I learned University of Ghana, they do that a lot. Yeah, I happen to lecture there. They do that a lot. They allow postgraduate students to go out there to the industry try their hands.
Okay, so we'll come to the strategies that we can put in place. I think that's where you started, but I'll come back to you. Let me go to Dr. Mrs. Anani and find out from you. Doc, what role does research play in shaping public health policies? And how can academia better align with health sector needs?
Okay, thank you so much. So academia and research really do play a crucial role when it comes to public health policies. Now we have existing and emerging conditions. So for instance, if the research team is actually working, definitely there should be some outcome. There should be some research done that will give us outcomes and that will help us with interventions. I just want to dwell on COVID. When we had COVID, in the heat of COVID, there were so many issues around it, especially with the preventive measures. And as we speak, I just want to throw this question that how many of us actually sat down to look into COVID? What actually worked? Because there were a lot of, let me say, myths. Because it happened that people wear nose masks but still got COVID. Some people didn't wear nose masks and they never had COVID. What was the problem? And what are we actually doing about it? I'm asking this question because in the heat of it, everybody was saying something. We proposed wearing of nose masks, we proposed distance, social distance, we proposed a whole lot of things. People also even proposed this drink, the pepper ginger was sobolo, yes. And to a lot of people, it worked. But as a research team, have you even gone further to find out what actually worked? And that is what we need to do as, let me put it in the context as postgraduate students. Because we've had this, it's come and gone, but trust me, definitely as we are, as humans as we are, and now that we are getting closer to animals, when I say we are getting closer to animals, because now we are deforestation, we are cutting down a lot of trees and we are getting closer to animals, animals are getting closer to us, definitely we will experience a lot of outbreaks. What are we doing as a research team, as academia? We'll be able to solve these issues when we incorporate a lot of these things into the curriculum or the courses that we do. I can comfortably say that for us as Ghanaians and Africans, we are put in straitjackets. We really don't go outside our domain. It's about classwork, chew, pass, forget. We want to get our A's, we want to get our B's. But then when you go outside there, that is not it. People are actually made to understand research, go into research a whole year. Maybe that would be how you be assessed based on the courses that you do. It's not like you're going to write exams. People are just in the heat of writing exams. So I think that with us, when we want to bring research, academia, we'll be able to come together when we all have a joint research initiative coming together. The research team come, institutions also come together, then we all have one common goal. We see the need of working together to be able to bring out solutions. Because by and large, let me use another scenario. We have cholera within Central Region. I'm sure as we sit here, we have different postgraduate students, but how many of us have actually had that interest to see what is happening? Because this cholera outbreak, the question is that most of the time you see cholera outbreak during rainy season. But this time that we had the outbreak, it was during the dry season. It was from October, November, December. Has it even crossed our minds to look into what actually happened? And if the cholera outbreak, we are not able to contain or break transmission, what can we make projections? What can happen during this rainy season? So all that I'm trying to say is that with academia, research, and health institutions, we really have to come together, work as one unit, and ensure that we have one common goal. There's this project, One Health, that brings everybody on board. And as postgraduate students, everybody has that potential to initiate something, to bring out a solution to any health issues that are around us. And I can say that when you cast your eyes around, there are lots of health issues. The problem is how to identify them. Do we even have the eyes to identify the health issues that we have? Even in our homes, we have health issues. Somebody brought out a seat belt because that student was able to identify that using a seat belt will prevent a lot of road traffic accidents. As university, what can we also bring out? I mean, we can do a lot, so we have to come together and do it. Thank you very much.
Dr. Mrs. Anani, she asked a very important question. As a university, what can we also bring out for society to benefit? Let me come to Dr. Mrs. Benedicta Anita Mensah. How is the private sector looking at academic research? What are the gaps that the private sector see in the research that academics conduct, and are there potential synergies?
Thank you very much. We are very grateful to be given this opportunity to be part of the Tvucc conference, which seek to bring innovation and economic development. It is a ferry we have not welcomed for a very long time, where we definitely know that the industry is looking for, the industry is looking for competitive product, services, and then research to make sure that they are able to meet the needs of industry. The academia is also doing its best to give us a cross-cutting research to make sure that the industry is transformed. However, we see that there is this disconnection. The disconnection has been there for a longer time. And if we can proceed and make progress and collaborate, we need to work at this niche. The academia research is seen as a basis for the ideas, and it is seen as the architect of pushing investment. If the industry do not see the relevance of the research, it's very difficult to use it, or it's very difficult to welcome it. And so I'll put it in quote, most industry players or industry professionals see academic research as being theoretical, too many pages and books, pens and all that. But it's in actual fact could solve problems, emerging problems and relevant, needs. That's the industry for you. And there is also the fear of losing intellectual property. And so I won't go at all. I will just start something with my own business plan and strategy and go forward. But we see that these do not augur well because there's no sustainability of where the person wants to go. And you even do not reach, or you not get to the goal and target you set for yourself. We also look at they are looking at whether or not it will even be relevant at all to the industry need. And so they don't bother themselves. They look at the time factor, the timelines, as being an impediment to their progress. You know, you need to take time to do research and make sure that your output and research findings could solve a problem. Here is the case, he is looking for return on investment. And so to wait for you becomes a different ballgame altogether. There are challenges. There are challenges, numerous, that we need to, work at. We see that it is so. Why they perceive it like that? Because there are barriers, language barrier. The language is different from the industry. You have your, thematic areas, you have your, technical language and other things. You know this industry players, they just want ABC, then they are gone. And so it is sort of the understanding is not there, because if you really know the result that the research is giving to you, you definitely would have to have patience to understand. It becomes even very difficult for students to communicate research findings to the industry, because sometimes you see the informal sector being so huge, and therefore to progress with the research becomes a big blow. We also look at values and culture of the both parties. Academia, has no time. Academia has a lot on the scale difficulties. We also have gaps, like collaborative gaps, to be able to collaborate with the industry in the process of developing the research. You say that the industry is doing its own, and then the academia is also somewhere. There are times industry would find certain research to do on their own, but there are solutions, there are problems that the industry and academia must come together to work at, so that we will get the necessary result. The output will be relevant to the real world, situations and problems. We are also looking at funding gap, which has also been a problem. The industry could fund certain research, but as to who is going to lead that collaboration is a missing gap. there. And so, in fact, we find ourselves in an awkward situation where we cannot translate the research that we are doing from the various uh, institutions.
Okay, thank you very much. So I would want to tie a round of applause, please. A round of applause. So there are a few things you raised that relates to what Dr. Omega was talking about earlier. One of the things I want to pick here is the language barrier. And Dr. Omega was talking about how the research language,
Industry practitioners.
it doesn't go down to the industry practitioners and farmers. Now, so let me find out from you. Looking that were raised earlier and what Dr. Mensah is talking about, what policies do you think that your ministry can put in place to support research industry linkages in India? Even there's a few, but if you can elaborate more on some others.
Yeah, one particular strategy we have is something that we are using. We call it REC, Research Extension Farmer Linkage Committee. That's the strategy we are using. So what happened is we develop our plans. So during the development of plans, we invite stakeholders in agriculture where we meet and we look at the constraints. I mentioned the value chain. We look at the value chain. So we'll come out with the constraints. And during the course of identifying these constraints, we'll have constraints for research. So where academia will come in. So the research topics identified will be given to research and they will work on. So the issue is that we say stakeholders, farmers are there. These are farmers, farmers constrained. They are saying that this is the problem they have. So research will look at it and then work on it and make it available to the farmers. So in order to bridge the gap, REC is playing a part. The other issue is, you know, our researchers complain a lot about funding. The university is there. Funding. Government funding, at times you talk of education, they say get fund. The funding, agriculture, are they getting, maybe get fund? Yeah, get fund is there, but is it enough? Internally generated fund is there. Is it enough for them? Then at times the private sector will come in. So it will be that countries, a country like Australia, they have funding source. They have funding source. If you look at the funding sources that they have. So what happened is the universities, the public research institutions, private research institutions, they will at times get funding from the agricultural producers, the farmers, the big time farmers. They support research to come out with research findings for them to use. You go to a country like UK, they also have funding. So funding is a serious issue. So in order to bridge that gap, we expect government of Ghana to make available funding for, it could be agriculture, education, health, or what have you. I remembered in the year 1992, NAIP, National Agricultural Extension Project, was implemented. And as part of it, government was to set up a funding source for research. But up till now, there's nothing like that. Yes. So the reason why the developed countries are researching into issues, they are coming out with findings, is all because they have a reliable sources of funding. So it's an issue. The other one that I would like to mention, yeah, the communication gap, still, the communication gap. As I said earlier, we can bridge this communication gap by intensifying the collaboration. Yes. In my case, Central Regional Department of Agric and the School of Agric, we have that strong existing. The collaboration is existing. So anytime we need academia to come to our aid, they are ever ready to come to our aid. So we have been benefiting from this a lot. So I don't know much about the other sectors, but this is what we should do. But for the whole country, it shouldn't be Central Region UCC. It should be for Ghana as a whole. The other universities, Department of Agriculture, are they doing same? That's the issue. Though I informed my other regional directors of agriculture about the initiative that we put forward, I don't know if they will go by that. But without that, you know, Central Region is just taking a smaller portion so far as research issues is concerned. So we need to do that. And the other issue, as my sister said, our research findings, are they meeting what the industry required? That's the big question. We say students rush, but I'm happy to say that donor-funded research findings, at times government-supported research findings, the outcome is being used by the government institutions and our farmers. Yes, they are using it because the donors will tell you this is the situation. You give us the finding and they will make it available to the industry. And it's happening. Yeah. But the other way, all the findings that we have, the thesis, are we making use of them? Most of them no. My master's thesis, I've started using it. That's the reason why the Poultry Farmers Association that I mentioned, it collapsed some time ago, but we revamped it. And I use my findings in order to revamp this association. So it's possible. It's possible. So though it's a gap, but you shouldn't leave it like that. Let's go into it. Some of the findings can be used by industry to achieve their goal. So that's what we need to do.
Right. And Doc needs a round of applause for use. Okay, so he deserves an applause for using his MPhil thesis findings to solve a pressing problem. So if you listen to all the issues that have been spoken about in terms of the support, in terms of what needs to be done, one thing runs true, funding runs true, collaboration and all that. And from a curriculum point of view, I also hear postgraduate programs, departments restructuring their postgraduate programs to bring in the, what we call the practical aspect or the experiential learning, so that when postgraduate students are identifying research problems, they would go in there to research problems that relate actually to society and also relates to industry. But Mr. Nakob, so funding comes up all the time when we're talking about issues with bridging the gap between research and industry. As postgraduate students, what support structures do you need to enhance employability and industry collaboration?
Okay, so thank you very much. We earlier on mentioned that as a result of a lack of a national framework for student support, it makes it difficult for us to thrive. So I'm looking forward for the national framework for setting up the National Research Fund that the government is laying in place. I am using this platform to call that without any delay, such should be operationalized so that it can give more funding to to postgraduate students. Especially the mandate of GET Fund is primarily was for infrastructure. So what they are doing now is secondary. So the National Research Fund will set its pace to develop teams for students to develop competencies in that area. And I think if you are able to do a research in a particular team, already that team is relevant, that is why it was developed, and that can enhance our employability skills. I want to also say that institutions should beat down the competition and look at how they can collaborate among themselves. You know, all the time we call industry, industry. Meanwhile, academic institutions is also an industry. So in code, we can look at how this can collaborate to commercialize student findings. I know of a story of Harvard and that of MIT. The number of companies that they have developed from student projects is numerous. So if our local institutions in Africa can also come up with that strategy to put out their IGFs together to start setting up some companies that are based on research findings of students, that could also enhance that employability aspect. There is something that the School of Graduate Studies, UCC, is doing that is very commendable. They have set up what we call the boot camp. So every year, a section of postgraduate students go somewhere to look into their research findings. So that is an opportunity postgraduate students can develop the skill. And I'm looking forward industry coming in, that at that boot camp, industry will be given the opportunity to see the exhibitions of student findings. And so industry can make yourself available. Maybe you can see the dean after here to look at how the framework is run. At those boot camps, come around to let students do an exhibition sort of their research findings and how they fit into. So when that is enhanced, I think that postgraduate students can have some space to be able to utilize their research in the space. But the last one I can mention is yesterday I questioned whether or not there was an importance to establish research centers across our postgraduate institutions. So one thing that we are lacking is the soft skills to decode research findings. And I was in one of the workshops that were talking about soft skills. So the research centers will mean to help students to decode research findings, to be able to add on some soft skills like coding, which is becoming a basic language of research. And so if institutions can take it up to help postgraduate research in order to develop these skills, I think at the end of the day, they'll be very hot when in the eyes of the industry when the students leave their confines of the institutions. But more primarily, if it comes to the research that students produce, it is something I want to also use the platform to call on industry to also take up initiatives. That of example mentioned by Agric is commendable. So like he said, let's look at how private institutions can start funding postgraduate research. It's not enough to give scholarships. It's not enough. What is enough is to identify a problem that students should focus their research on, especially in the private sector and in the public sector. Because if in Ghana, if you look at our energy sector, we are recording a lot of debt. Not only the energy sector, all public institutions over the past 7 years have recorded losses, and even last year over 33% loss in all state institutions. That's a problem, and postgraduate students have the mandate to look at that if government make funding available.
Okay, thank you very much. So this issue of industry funding research and also collaborating with postgraduate students or academia to conduct research, I'm sure will have to do with whether the issue they are researching into has any relevance to the industry. So I'll come to Dr. Mrs. Anani. In the health sector, are there opportunities for universities to co-develop healthcare innovations with the industry, or with the ministry, sorry? I think it will work.
Hello. Hello. Yes. Yeah, there are lots of opportunities. Let me start by saying, we have our partners with us in the country. When I say partners, we have World Health Organization, we have UNICEF, we have PATH, we have various partners who are available and willing to fund projects. For instance, if you take UNICEF and it's related to child or children, they'll be more glad to sponsor. Yes, and then also currently we all know about some of the emerging issues that we have. You know that non-communicable disease is on the rise, and as you rightly said, you have to do something that will be of interest to somebody to support you. So for instance, if you take non-communicable disease, everybody nowadays people really want to go into it because unlike before, we had infectious disease causing a lot of mortalities, but now the non-communicable disease are also causing a lot of mortality. So there's more like double burden of disease, both the non-communicable and the infectious disease. So there are lots of avenues to collaborate with health institutions to be able to bring out research. And when you bring out the research or you carry out the research, it doesn't really end there, but then you have the means, one, to publish it, then also bring in some evidence-based solutions to the problem that you may have identified. Yes, so we most of the time what we see at our end is that people actually apply for support. That means that collaborating with you to get the support to receive their grant. But then I think there's the time that we have to start the process together. When I say process together, there should be some kind of, it has been mentioned, maybe like a hub or a hub whereby people, both health sector, the research institution, the academia come together, then we all identify the problem, then we work together as a team and be able to address the problem. I must say that when the health sector has not really benefited a lot from the university researchers because most of the time we don't see much. When you take the health institution, you don't really see much research being done. And even when we take like the postgraduate courses or the postgraduate thesis that you'll be doing, maybe you can do that, check that data. A lot of them wouldn't, the health sector would be just limited. But then I should say that irrespective of the program that you are reading, you can still have a project being done in the health sector. Now we have, AI is something that we are all using now. So wherever that you find yourself, what AI tool can you, think of? What can you bring on board, AI tool that you can bring on board to help with the health sector? Now we are doing a lot of telemedicine when you go outside, but Ghana is limited. It's limited because of one poor network. So because somebody can be here but want to have access to somebody in a very remote area, or a nurse in a very remote area wants some care or like guidelines on how to manage a case, but because of that poor network, how can that person be reached? And that one is all about AI tools. So as I say, irrespective of programs that we are reading, we still have that opportunity to be able to collaborate and collaborate well with health institutions. And you know that academia, like institutions, are the main place that actually train health professionals. Every health professional goes through an institution. Yes, so we will also have to revise our curriculum, bring in more skills, bring in a lot of ITs. People should, it will interest you that people go out of university and are not really comfortable with IT because it's a little silence in the university, in our training. But then I think we have to make that intentional effort to bring in IT on board. And when I say IT on board, I mean practical IT. It's not the IT that you can ask somebody, what is this? The person can give it to you, but then when it comes to the practical aspects, the person does not really know what he or she is talking about. So we have to make that intentional effort to bring in our IT, technology, information, everything into our curriculum so that people will be able to give their best out when they actually even find themselves at the, in their jobs, or even when they want to bring out a project or a proposal, they know what they're actually working on. So on the whole, I would say that these two things are very much important. We should have a hub, a center together where we have health institutions, we have research team, we can all decide, we identify a problem, work towards the problem, know what actually works, who are the people who are even at risk of a particular condition, who are the, what is the cause. When we are able to do that, that is when we can also bring out, we formulate things that can actually work for it, actually test what worked and what did not work, put in some proposals, and sometimes, even though the thing may be done in central region, but it may be generalized for the whole country, and that is when the country can be seen moving forward. I think there's a high time that we have to do something for ourselves as Ghanaians, as Africans, so that at least we can bring out something for people to also come and learn from us. It's not always that we should get the information from outside and to live by it. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you very much. A round of applause, please. Thank you very much. So what I get from this is the hub you're talking about. If it is possible for academia, industry, and researchers to be able to come together, then the problems that we may identify as postgraduate students or researchers would be industry related. And I'm sure every industry also is looking at solving societal problems. And so then the aim for conducting research will also be attained. But Mrs. Mensah, you mentioned something earlier, which I want to come back to you on, the fear of losing intellectual property as one of the reasons why the collaboration between industry and academia is suffering. Based on that, I want to find out from you if there are any strategies you think can be implemented to ensure that we take care of this and also ensure that universities produce graduates who can meet the needs of industry or demands of industry.
Thank you very much. I think it is the way to go. We can only bridge academia, research, and industry when we have strategically put structures in place. And what structures are we looking at? If you make it too disconnected, it is that place that gives the fear. But when the collaboration is in session and we feel that we are part, we work together. And so I believe that developing curriculum, we should look at the participation of the industry, because that is the area we can know the relevance of the research we bringing out. Training students in which line? Skill development that is centered to solve problems, to solve societal problems, and to be able to make research findings and research input commercialized. So when academia is drawn near, you know that whatever you bring out as a curricula, you know, have the nitty-gritties of what the industry needs. We're looking at the internship programs and placement from the university. Is it effectively carried out, or is a fashion where we just add to what we are doing here? I know for sure so many people have come to pass through internship and have gotten a different perspective in whatever they are learning. And so it is essential that this effective, you know, industry attachment, placement, or internship is structured in the sense that I was even looking for twice or thrice before the person passed out. All the people who have had internship in the industry, I make sure that before you leave, you are an entrepreneur. And believe you not, I have almost about confirm internship graduates or students who have various creative, innovative products on market. And so it's about we doing it together and not, allowing the gap to be there. So the curriculum should look at it. We should also have industry partners as advisors or the advisory board of the academia. And so they can guide and give counseling into the curriculum that is being designed. We see that right from our JHS, or what do you call the primary school, we've not been doing that. We don't consider that, and that is making it very difficult even for postgraduates to implement whatever learning he has received from the university. Whilst people are taking you through skill development at the KG, building carpentry work, masonry and other things, we are teaching malaria, abstract things. So by the time we even come here, the interest of, you developing the research to solve a problem becomes a headache. And it is sort of marking us time in staying stagnant, staying, not being relevant. So I believe that when this open is given to the industry, you will not even think about intellectual property being stolen. And there are areas when people, give the opportunity to department staffs and, other workers to also develop themselves and upgrade themselves in the industry. We're saying that it is a link that's supposed to be bridged, meaning that the industry is going to the classroom and the academia and vice versa. And so what we looking at strategizing for exchange programs that will build industry needs, and programs that would also prepare, train, and give, knowledge and skill to the researcher to be able to bring out the ideas that will really solve industry problem. Other than that, it will be paper and the pen. We also looking at soft skills, as we are saying, to be able to, meet the demand of the industry. The researcher must, get this soft skills. We are in the era where we are looking at critical thinking
21st century skills.
We are looking at communication, and then we also looking at creativity and innovation. It doesn't mean that we don't have. We have the intellectual properties of the individuals or the postgraduate here are very high. Because of that, some of them are being poached to different countries, but we want them in Africa. You understand? We need them in Africa. How can you do it? If that bridge is there, if that gap is being bridged and the collaborative measures are, effective, there will not be the need to go to India or Korea before your research can be put to use. We need you here. Africa, Mama Africa needs your intellectual property. You see, so we really have to create a kind of teaching that gives skills development specifically so that it can really solve the real world problems. We can also look at structures of, supporting the research industry or the research, the academia, from the research, from the industry perspective, and also from the government perspective. We hear of research being funded, but when you ask of the money given, you see that it's very scanty. There's nothing to write home about with that particular money that is given. Or I don't know whether Agric has a huge money for that. It doesn't reflect what we are bringing out. So you see that there are a lot of research that are stuck at the library. Some of them are not unfinished. They are not completed because they got to a point where they needed equipment. They needed research hubs. They needed areas where they could, progress with this research. But what happens? They are in the middle and it doesn't solve any problem. We are looking at research funding deliberately structured to help students to come out with technology, to come out with the needed, ideas that will solve industry programs.
Okay.
If we should look at politics, the money that is wasted there, you don't even have quarter of it to work out our research findings or to even turn the research findings. But this is the canker that is worrying the development and innovation and technology of Africa. So I believe that the industry would also have to do more advocacy on research support for the academia. And I believe we can go forward.
Thank you.
And make
A round of
change.
applause, please. A round of applause. So, one thing I take from what you said is academia bringing in industry players into the advisory board so that when they're developing the curriculum for their programs, they can take advice from industry players for the curriculum to reflect what industry is looking at. So all I hear is more of the curriculum incorporating some of these things. I want to share a little bit of an experience where you have, I know people may have different views of this, but where you have a student being trained, as you were trained, but you are not there, being trained to become a teacher, and then you are there, they come in and say they want an internship letter. Where are you going? And now someone says, farm milk. Where are you going? ECG. I hold a point, a view, and I'm like, we're training you to become a teacher, so why don't you go to the school, the classroom, gain the necessary skills so you can go through the program and become a good teacher. If tomorrow you find yourself somewhere else, you may go in there and learn the other skills. But undergraduate students come and they want to go for internship in different areas that have no bearing on their program. So if departments will want to be very deliberate with their curriculum, specifying the specific skills or internship areas that students will have to go, and that would be good. Yesterday, I also heard from the panel discussion that it looks like in postgraduate research, not all departments look at internship as part of the curriculum. And so I think this discussion is leading us there. Now, so we've said a lot. we've said a lot, and in about 5 minutes, I'll be coming to participants to ask some questions. I'm coming to you for just a minute of your views on some of the best practices that exist even in Ghana or internationally that we can adopt to bridge or strengthen the research and industry partnership. So let me come to you, Dr. Mrs. Anani, first. Some of the best practices in Ghana or internationally that we can adopt to strengthen this relationship.
Thank you very much. So internationally, I could see the academia and health institutions working together. Examples are during the COVID again. We all know about the vaccines that we use. AstraZeneca, pharmacy, and one university in UK actually worked together to bring out that vaccine. The same with Pfizer. It was an institution, university, and a pharmaceutical company. So on the whole, I think this is the time for us to work together. And one example, as I've said, I've mentioned about the hub. And going forward, maybe when you have such conference like this, you can also include the health sector to be part of such conferences. So meaning that there should be a collaborative conference. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll go to Mr. Nankop.
Okay, so I want to learn lessons from the UK's government. Since 2023, for the next 5 years, they are dedicating £500 million to the development of the SME sector, because government has noticed that when they develop that sector, in no time they are going to take over the space. So lessons can be learned that we can also look at that, focus a particular sector which we think we are not doing well as a country, invite research, and that is targeted to researches that are going into SME innovation and internationalization. This afternoon, before here, I presented a paper on digital transformation, internationalization, and environmental sustainability. This is an area that is globally being advocated for. So if there is a framework, government can look at sourcing funds dedicated, like 300 million, that can support over 10,000 students every year. And I think postgraduate students, we don't graduate more than 10,000, even in Ghana. So we can virtually do everything. So that is what I'm looking at for, and that is why I can't wait that the National Research Fund is operationalized as soon as possible. That can give way to this growth.
Okay, Mrs. Mensah, then I'll go to Dr. Omega finally.
Yeah, as I said, the collaboration would definitely work out. When we look at Korea research industry linkage, the partnership is very effective, and we see that there are a lot of problems that have been solved in the industry and then in society. And so we can benchmark from China. China is also doing well. We know we've been sitting here for China to come in to do a lot of research, to be producing what we have. Cocoa is coming, Gary is there, and what you call corn is also there. We can do it. They can also, set aside a research fund, from all the three, from the industry, from the academia, and government. A fund from the three, institutions to promote research and innovation. We also look at California, USA, and we can also look through what they've been able to do to make it work, and benchmark and see Ghana and Africa also moving forward.
Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Omega.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I will start from Australia. Australia, I don't know if you heard of AMRI convention. Yeah, a situation where industry support research. So when the findings are ready, they make it available to industry, and it's working perfectly. Still, Australia, they have ASA research conference. They are also doing the same. When we go to a country like Ivory Coast, Cote d'Ivoire, they levy those in the industry. The big time firms are contributing levy. They levy them, they are contributing towards funding research. We can do same in Ghana. Ghana, we have big time farms. We have industries. Very soon, Commander Sugar Factory will start operating. Why can't we levy the get resources so that research will go into sugarcane production? We can look at that. Even the oil find, the oil, why can't we set up some funds from there for research support? We have we have avenues where we can generate fund for research. What we are doing in Ghana, I mentioned REC. REC is there, is supporting. That's what we are doing. But we still need more. You ask me, REC, where we have been getting support from? Government of Ghana, most often, about 90% from donor partners. From donor partners. So these are some of the things we have. But still, I just want to say this. Our lecturers, School of Agric, they've been coming to me for letter of collaboration. They prepare proposal to source for funding for research. I've been giving them those things. I don't know if they have been using the postgraduate students to carry out those research or not. This is another area we can look at. Postgraduate, I'm telling you this. What they do is they use the undergrad to do this. Why can't they use the postgraduate students to do this work? So far, I prepared about 5 letters of collaboration. Yes. So we can look at all these areas. As for internally generated one, you mentioned it. It should be possible. Yeah. So these are the areas I feel we can look at.
Thank you very much, discussant. Doctor?
Yes, I wanted to add that because the postgraduates stand the chance of knowing what the industry needs, because they might have passed through internship and then the national service and all that. And so at least undergraduates are doing it, but it will be very effective when the postgraduates, are supporting. Because I remember CESED have been doing a whole lot where we have Cosmos Innovation supporting Holland and other areas being supported. I met somebody yesterday with product, Kokonte and this Winnie Mason and other things. The person was interviewed undergrad, and he's been able to come out with this solution, and he is making money. So I believe that we take it from here, and we call it the experience research. Let us, come up with our help.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for our discussants this afternoon. And so we come to you. We have been talking for more than an hour. You may have a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions, but I'll leave them and we'll come to you. So Eric will help us. If you have a question, you come up and ask your question as my discussant try to answer them for you. Unfortunately, the rep from Ghana Education Service couldn't come here. Some of the issues you're talking about in terms of the curriculum and all that, we will have asked some questions for him to give us answers. So please, you can mention your name if you're not from Ghana, your country, your program, then respond. Yes.
So my question, not only to the discussant, but the university team that is
Okay, so
here.
your name and...
Mercy Ajopoku,
Okay.
from Nursing and Midwifery Training College, Kolebu. So I would like to find out from the university if your policies or statutes to allow, can you have a board, a committee, a team meant for research that you have both the teachers, the lecturers, the researchers on, and the industry persons in that team, or the hospital workers, from the doctors to the nurses to all that matters in that team, so that this team is part of the postgraduate research work. So before the postgraduates completely decide that this is the topic I'm resting on, this team has been part of that journey and telling you that these are the current issues, this is what we need as industry, this is what we need as hospital. Because if not, every member of the team, like the university is in its own domain, the industry is also at its governance space or power space, and the intentionality of coming together will still miss, because if we live here and we don't intentionally form that team or that board or that, how the statute will allow it, then we'll go back and the students are doing their research and it is still independent of industry and academia. That is my question.
Right. Thank you very much. Yes.
Okay, my name is Augustine Atambli, MPhil Clinical Health Psychology. I overheard one of our discussants talking about the fact that most of the times students' findings are kind of abstract. Just to add on to what my senior colleague said, is it possible that industries can come out with, let me say, topics or collate interesting areas or emerging areas, especially in health, in business, and all the other areas, so that before the first year postgraduate student goes out to look for a topic to research on, you already have maybe an interest in any of the areas raised? And if so, can there be funding to at least support whoever chooses an area to research into, so that the findings cannot be abstract, but it can be, implied? Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I am Mavis MF Junior, MPhil Arts Education from the Department of Arts Education. I am just here to share a concern about the dilemma of lecturers about the mode of assessment for postgraduate students, because you stressed on having something to do with industry, where students have the opportunity to have hands-on experience in the industry. Sometimes we have the opportunity to see some challenges that our industries that we are aligning with our studies, they are facing, and then maybe we can focus our research on those areas. But here lies the case, due to this generation of AI and other tools coming up, I think some of our lecturers are afraid that we might produce works that we rely too much on AI, and they think that we should rather take examinations. So we go back to postgraduate students writing sit-down exams. We go and then we chew our notes, then we come back to pour for the lecturers to mark for us. So I don't know how this is going to be addressed, because I think sometimes writing 10 papers give us insight on the problems available in our various fields, and which have an impact on our final thesis that we write. So maybe if you can help us on this. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. So my discussant would... Oh, okay, there's the last one. Oh, sorry.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Yeah.
My name is Adams Manto, MPhil Animal Science. I think my question has been touched on by the UCOM, but this will be an appeal to my colleagues from the animal science or the agricultural sector. We do research. We have a lot of researchers in this sector, the agri sector, yet we are not making any progress. So I will appeal that once you are done with your research, try to also be a practitioner. Try to put it in practice. So that I think if you're able to put it in practice, you can also produce something small. It's so surprising that a lot of people from different sectors, business and other fields, try to come into agri sector, do something and something small for themselves. Why can't we, as agri practitioners, do something for ourselves after, our research and leaving it to sit in themselves? Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. So we would let our discussants pick the issues. Maybe, I don't know, Dr. Omega.
Yes, I will start with the last person. Yeah, you hit the nail very hard. I'm happy that you raised this issue. It's very, very important. You know, when MC was talking in the beginning, he mentioned something. He said, we have students who pursue agric. At the end of the day, they don't want to be farmers or they don't want to be extension officers. They prefer being bankers. They said they use agric as a stepping stone. So they will pass through, at the end of the day, they will find themselves somewhere. It all happened, excuse me to say, as I said, I'm a lecturer at Legon too. I asked a student body, 300, level 200 students, those who would like to be farmers after they completed the course. Nobody raised their hand. Nobody. So I said, what is all this? Meanwhile, I gave them the benefits that they would derive for pursuing agriculture. No. They said they are using agric as a stepping stone. At the end of the day, they will become bankers, they will become medical officers, and others. I said, that is good. So the issue is that the crop of young guys we are producing? Is that the crop of students we are producing nowadays? They don't want to do that. Same applies to the postgraduate students. You are offering animal science. But will you tell me that at the end of the day, you would like to raise your own animals? Are you sure you are going to do that? Excuse me to say this. Most often, you hear politicians, academia, they said agric is the bedrock of Ghana's economy. If it's the bedrock, then what are we doing to agric? We said it's the bedrock, so far as the economy is concerned. My brothers and sisters, there's a lot of money in agriculture. I'm telling you. The late Jimmy Carter was once a farmer, a very rich farmer. He made it in life. Dumalo,
Yes.
MP,
Yes.
Dumalo. He has been saying it all the time. He has poultry farm, vegetable, ginger, others. And he's making it. And somebody too is saying yam. He's making it in life. Why can't we look at that? Okay. The other issue I would like to talk about is the postgraduate writing exams, where now, this time we have AI, artificial intelligence. They will go and dab and do all those sort of things. It's a fact. Legon, what we do is that my Department of Agricultural Extension, the PhD students don't write exams. They present 10 papers. That's what we do. They present 10 papers. But the undergrad, that's where the problem is. It's a problem because we have people who read social science, and now they want to do agric extension. So in this case, you have to pass through the third course and you write exams. So it all depends. So if other universities can look at it, I know University of Cape Coast, level 700, PhD, you still write exams.
900.
900. Yes. You still write exams. At times they will tell you, because your research, you need extension methods. That's why you have to still study research extension methods and write exams. But we can still look at it.
Yes.
So that we exempt the students from writing exam. 10 paper is okay.
Okay. So, Mrs. Mensah, yes.
Yes, we need to look at the evaluation process.
Okay.
For the postgraduate. Postgraduate and exams all the time. I don't think it's going to, benefit the industry so much. I think they want to a higher, level where they need to practicalize things. And so whilst I was speaking, I said that I prefer that internship and other structured, programs for skill development. You understand? Entrepreneurship programs for performance, appraiser. That one will let us turn the research input to commercialize commercialize that.
Yeah.
But if it is always 10 papers, 5 papers, 7 papers for somebody to and it's still in the researcher, where are we going? It's high time we bring the treasure on the shelf.
Okay. That's the research findings on
That
the shelf.
is it.
Yeah.
The treasure on the shelf into the society and the business community. It should be treasure in the business community, treasure in the society. Because there are a lot of answers that are dusty on the shelves at the libraries. Not going anywhere. So when we have skill development coming down to the industry, and then you are able to have hands-on training, bring out innovation, create a whole lot of, connections to solve problems.
Okay.
It is that place that make a base.
Okay. So Dr. Mr. Sanani, why are we preferring all these beautiful strategies and plans and policies, but we are not being able to implement it? But before you answer that, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Godfred Mensah. He is the representative of Mr. Emmanuel Suman, who is the Regional Education Director. Please, you can join us here so that when wrapping up, you make a statement and then we can wrap. So, Doc, why are we not being able to implement these strategies?
Yeah, I think when I spoke earlier, I mentioned about being intentional about whatever that we want to do. We have to be intentional in the sense that at the university level, we have to be intentional. And I think previous speakers have talked about funding and also grants. Because all these things that we are talking about, some of them you will need money to implement them. And I think there's a high time that I've heard about research, some money being put aside for research. And I think every government really have to prioritize research. It is until then that we'll be able to make some progress. But then at the individual level too, we also need to make an impact. You also have to make an impact. Sometimes you may think that the things are really broad, but then it will take one person to make an impact. So an individual person, what innovative measures do you have So it's at the individual level, it's at the institutional level, and it's also at the governmental level. Each of them, there are gaps, but then at all the levels, we have to be intentional about it. We spoke about curriculum. We've said it, and somebody mentioned that all these things are being known. But until the university becomes intentional about it, making sure that whatever the issues are, the gaps that we've identified, we would be able to bridge it. We cannot do that. So at all these levels, we have to be intentional about whatever that we want to do. Somebody also mentioned about the topics, and like research topics and not getting funding, or the findings are abstract. Yes. So now you really, at the postgraduate level, I don't think you should just sit down and decide to do any kind of research. Your motive should be about three. You want to publish it. Before you want to publish, you want to get funding. And also you want to get some evidence-based solution from whatever that you are doing. So you just don't sit down and say that I want to do this research. Sometimes it's because of time bound. We want to get through the system and go away. But then you should know that whatever that you want to do, there should be a proper outcome. So now listen to news. There are a whole lot of health issues around. I spoke about cholera. Cholera in Central Region, there are so many things that you can do. You can do a lot about cholera. So there are health issues around. Listen to news, read the dailies and all the things, and pick the very issues that when you think you work on, you write your proposal, that somebody will accept, and your findings that you come out with can be generalized. But sometimes the topics that we even pick are abstracts in quotes. And therefore, when you finish, you can't really do a lot with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I once engaged a postgraduate student, asked, why are you conducting this research? Then he showed me the part, I think the second cover page, where they say, impartial fulfillment of the award of a degree. So it is the degree that they are coming for. But Mr. Nakob, let me find out. One of the participants spoke about or asked whether in the University of Cape Coast we have graduate policy allows for, a graduate studies policy allows for that kind of hub that we were talking about, where as part of the program, industry players come in and all that, so that they come together to help students identify a practical, industry-oriented research problem and research into that. Do we allow that?
Yes, it's allowed. Even in curriculum development, there are various stakeholders. So when academic level, they are developing curriculum, it's encouraged that they reach out to industry, incorporate the skill needed for that particular program that is going to be run. So whichever way the curriculum allow for inputs, so it is when we become deliberate about it to invite industry to make inputs into that curriculum. That is when it becomes practicable. So there is no problem about it, and I think that frameworks already exist inviting the research industry to come to make inputs.
Okay.
Yes.
So postgraduate students, you've heard, we should allow industry to determine the problems that we research into. Maybe we'll take, if there are still some questions. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I just want to add to what my sister said pertaining to implementation. It looks as if we don't have a strong intra-institutional collaboration and coordination in place. If we take Ministry of Food and Agri, it's a different ministry. The University of Cape Coast and other universities, they belong to Ministry of Education. Is that not it? So when I'm preparing my budget, I don't prepare my budget for UCC to conduct research. Is that okay? But if we take critical look at the inter-institutional coordination, collaboration, then we'll get somewhere. So it's a very important issue. Yeah, it's happening all over. I agree, we have a lot of things that we can do. Research, we have a lot of things that we can do. But the funding, if there is a funding, where does it go?
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Doc. I think that I will give Mr. Godfred Mensah the opportunity to share with us what, from the education perspective, how we can bridge the gap between academia, research, and industry. Sir.
Thank you. First of all, let me apologize for my late arrival. My boss, who's supposed to be here, was caught up in a meeting together with my good self, and that was a reason, so I plead for a pardon. Next time, we'll make sure we plan well to come and on time. But once again, let me say that the issue of collaboration between the academia, research, and the industry is so relevant to management of education in Ghana, such that stakeholders are making all the relevant efforts to incorporate issues of challenges in our society, and in other words to say industry, into the formation or the formalization of our curriculum, right from the basic to the senior high school to the universities. The basic idea here is that with education, our core mandate is to develop talent so that the individual could become globally competitive enough so that at the end of the day, our societal problems and challenges could be addressed. And as part of these challenges are the issue of unemployment that is bedeviling graduates. And the question has always been that what kind of skills, what kind of knowledge do they have that does not make them fit well into the job spaces in the country and the world around? As a result, in the design of curriculum, all efforts are being made to hear from these relevant institutions like academia, the research data, and the industry. At the end of the day, we all agree that our education will end up having to do something either for ourselves or for an institution. But the question has always been that if you don't have the relevant knowledge and skills to making sure that you fit in, then that becomes the issue of where many of us will complete our graduate studies and may not be able to function well. So generally, I want to say that for education, we are much concerned, and especially with our curriculum formation, we try to make sure that there is much incorporation of the issues raised by our industries and making it part of the curriculum so that the individual who goes through the educational system becomes holistic enough to fit into the society and to address challenges around. This in brief, and because I was late, wouldn't want to digress further, I want to thank you for the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Robert Mensah. So, Godfred Mensah, sorry. So we'll pick, I think we'll pick the last three questions. If someone wants to join, please quickly join. We're running far behind time now. Okay, yes.
And occupational health. I want to ask a question. When one of the panels was speaking, I think my mommy made a comment that there is a gap or there is a problem when it comes to the industries understanding our project works or our work. So I want to ask a question. Actually, I wanted the education representative to be here to answer this question for me. So in this case, that the industry don't understand the language we are speaking when it comes to our thesis work being presented to them, or what we are trying to mean with our thesis work. What should we do? What are the measures to be putting in place so that when you are doing the work, you know that this is my thesis work, and the industry will understand what I'm communicating, and they will need me to be a help in the community or in the society I'm coming from. Thank you.
My name is Amamafo from the Department of Basic Education. Please, is there a way the university could help us disseminate our projects, our thesis, our findings? Could we be supported? It's obvious that sometimes it's funding. We need money. For the research, we are putting in so much money. But is there a way we could be supported to disseminate our findings? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Comfort Jacobs, MPhil Mathematics Education. Please, there is a little challenge that I have faced in relation to the research, to which all of us are aware. It looks as if because the theses are being packed in the shelf, there is a certain kind of, well, I call it a perception or myth or misconception that people do say that Ghana research criteria, going to the field to collect data, people that you don't expect to make certain comments will tell you, why are you wasting your time? After all, they'll put it in the shelf. What are you doing? Sit somewhere, some people sit somewhere and then just get whatever data they need. At the end of the day, it's being packed somewhere. So why do you waste your time to try and get the very data that you think is going to solve a problem? And if people also go to that extent to do it and it's being put on the shelf, I believe it wouldn't help. So the commercialization, as Madam said, I think if it is being implemented, whereby people know that, yes, if you do a good work, it's going to fetch this or something like that, then this kind of perceptions that people have, and I think there should be more education on research so that people will change their mindsets on how research is done and try to provide accurate data also when it is being asked, rather than thinking that after all, even if I do, it wouldn't earn anything. So why do you waste my time? You go to someone to collect the data, oh, after all, what is it going to be used for? Okay. Leave me alone, right. I don't have time.
Okay,
thank you
very much. Thank you very much. The last person.
All right.
Yes.
My name is Victor Kwame Jinji. I'm for the economist. On the basis of bridging the gap between academia, research, and industry, can we as a nation maybe come to a point where every individual, every postgraduate student, before you embark on your research work, intentionally do a mandatory postgraduate internship at the various industries, so that the various findings or the various observations you will see, you use those same observations to come out with your research, whether question, topic, or whatever. In that case, I suggest that if we do that, maybe one way or the other we'll be able to bridge the gap. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I think that we'll pick them snappy, one after the other. Anybody? I think you, okay, Dr.
Yes, he was talking about the language barrier between the researchers and the industry. That's why we think the collaboration would really help, because we also need to synthesize the industry professionals. They should know what they are looking for, and they should be part sometimes with the research. And so if you sit somewhere and do your research without they not being in part, that's where the problem comes, that the understanding would not be there. But you put yourself into the research where you involve them. It doesn't matter the confidentiality they are looking for. If there is education to the industry professionals, they will know the need for the research, and therefore will position themselves to understand what the students are doing. Like he rightly said, they should go to the industry for some internship again, because you know for sure that is the area I want to, bring out a research to solve. When you get to the practical aspect of it, you will be finding the solutions. And so it will make you bring out the needed and the relevant, solution you are looking for.
Okay, so Mr. Nankop, the talk about whether the university can give some support to postgraduate students to disseminate their research findings, and then also the third questioner talking about the perception that people have about the output of research, and what is the university doing about the research outputs that postgraduate students bring out?
Okay, so for the dissemination, that is where I was calling for enhancing the postgraduate boot camp, especially in our institution. That is a brilliant extension that the school can look at, or the university can look at, to increase funding for that particular camp, so that we can include the aspect of research exhibitions. We invite industry, relevant stakeholders to be at the camp where we can dialogue on the research findings of the postgraduate studies or students. So I think this is one way we can do that, to disseminate research findings. The other one is, yes, there are some departments that are having the mandatory internships. I'm aware of psychology, clinical health psychology. In their second year, they do internship, and it's part of their curriculum. So we will advocate that more departments across should incorporate that in their curriculum, so that compulsorily we reduce the credit hours, like from 7 to 5. Then the remaining 2, which will sum up to 6, can, as it were, be in the industry. So people in the animal science can go to the farm to look at snails, how they are grown. People in business can go to the markets. People in economics can go to the various sectors to look at how automations and research economics is done. So I think that will enhance our employability skills. So, and in that of the data, yes, it's a misconception, and sometimes misconceptions are true. So if it is the case that you hear comment that do not suffer, but just do anything, one day it will hunt you back. Because like Doc said, it is out of his research he has done so many years ago that is finding relevance for him to now use to revamp the poultry sector. So whatever you do today has a bearing in the future, then we have to be guided by that. Then you do the right thing, neglecting the comments that you hear that will deter you from doing the proper research. That is what I
okay, so I will now pick your final comments in relation to, okay, so as you answer, yes, as you answer the question, then you give us a final comment.
University of Cape Coast,
yes,
you have a directorate in charge of research. I forgot of the name.
Yes,
Tvucc, Directorate of Research,
yes.
Innovation and Consultancy.
So that you develop a communication strategy, like what you mentioned. At times too, we have FM radio stations around. What is wrong if you tell the general public about what you are doing? Is that okay? So a nice communication strategy would do for
Doc, please, the microphone. Yes. Okay. So Doc, let me start from you. So, finally, in 30 seconds, your final comments on bridging the gap between academia, research, and industry.
Yes,
in 30 seconds.
Yeah. The postgraduate rep raised this issue about internship. The internship that we have departments on campus here. They have started doing that. They should continue. Okay. They should extend it to other departments or colleges, so that they allow your postgraduate students to go to the field. I agree. For instance, the farmers are there. We have big-time farmers. Okay. What is wrong if you team up with these big-time farmers? You can get your research topic from there. It's very, very important. They have a lot of topics that you can think about. Have to mention the same thing. So why can't we do that? Yes, the collaboration is very, very important. Let's look at the collaboration, and it will help us a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Mensah, your final words in 30 seconds.
We're looking at the collaboration once again. And as I said, curriculum development should involve industry. And we should also have industry, academia, and research partnership where we can have platform to work out these gaps and make sure that we coordinate and implement them, not by oral, but practical.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me pick Dr. Mrs. Anani. Yes, your final words.
Yes, so I would say that around us, we have a lot of health indicators that we can research into. So you should open our eyes as even we walk around. There are a whole lot of things that we can research into. Thank you.
Okay. Now, Mr. Godfred Mensah.
Thank you. I would want to give hope to our graduates that most recent curriculum designs and reforms have really seen the need to engage the industry so that their inputs are being incorporated, and by so doing, the problems of that barrier that my sister was here to say, that we are not able to decode the challenges. I am believing that if, as part of the curriculum, the designs are such that the challenges of the industry is part of it, and academia provides that support, I'm sure the collaboration will promote and help address some of these challenges that we have in society.
Thank you very much, Mr. Godfred Mensah. Finally, the GRASAC president, Mr. Nankop.
Yes, finally, I will also want to place call on institutional collaborations. Academic institutions should, through Vice Chancellor Ghana, should start thinking about how to commercialize students' research work. They can form consortiums, establish syndicate loans, get venture capitals that can critically look at some actionable research findings of postgraduate students and commercialize that. And that can serve the global community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And so, thank you very much, our discussant, Dr. Peter Kofi Omega, Regional Director, Ministry of Food and Agriculture, and also Dr. Mrs. Agnes Achama Anani, who is the Regional Director, Ghana Health Services, and also to you, the Regional Director, Representative, Ghana Chamber of Commerce, Mrs. Benedicta Anita Mensah, and also the rep of the Regional Director of Ghana Education Service, Mr. Godfred Mensah, and finally to you, the GRASAC President, Mr. Robert Nankop, for making this discussion fruitful, and also to you, cherished audience, for making the time being here and also asking the relevant questions. Thank you very much for your time.
Wow. Thank you very much, our moderator. Please, some round of applause for them, our moderator and our panel, our discussants for this conversation. Wow, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that you have indeed learned something today with respect to what we've talked about here, bridging the gap between the industry, research and academia. I remember in 2021 when I was president of GRASAC UCC, we did something. We sought to, you know this statement of if the mountain, if Moses will not go to the mountain can also come to Moses. We wrote to some institutions to get from them what areas are their research focus for the year we find ourselves. And as an association, we got some of the institutions. I remember World Vision International did that reply to us. I remember the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources reply, telling us their areas of focus for research. And we disseminated that to students. And so if you're a student and you pick this particular area, you research into it, the ministry or this particular NGO is ready to help you even with data and funds. So probably I would want to ask Grasag UCC to look into some of these things, write to some of these institutions, the areas that they want to research into. I know the Ministry of Finance has a directorate of research and a lot of issues they want to research into. And I believe when you do that, what you come up with as findings in your research will be worthwhile to them. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, a round of applause for our discussants and our panel. The School of Graduate Studies has something for our discussants, and so humbly and respectfully, I would want to have our discussants to this part of the floor of the auditorium, and then we'll have that presented to you. But to help us do this presentation is the co-chair of the LOC for this 5th International Conference, and also the Deputy Director for Drake in UCC, Professor Dokaso Briyeboa. Please, a round of applause for her. Yes, so Mrs. Benedicta Anita Mensah, you can move forward to have your award. Oh, a round of applause for them. Thank you very much. And Dr. Peter Kofi Omega, you can also move forward to have the award. Mr. Robert Ipin Nankom, Grasag UCC President. Hi, Presido. Dr. Mrs. Agnes Echiama Anane. Yes, you can be there. Right. And finally, Mr. Godfred Mensah, representing Mr. Emmanuel Suman from the Regional Directorate of Education in Central Region. Okay, so we can take a picture together. Yes, LOC members around, you can join. Yes. Yes, LOC members, Auntie Mavis, I see you here. Thank you. So even as we do this, I would want to take some few minutes to recognize some of our dignitaries here. I mean, part of the LOC. We have the Dean of the School of Graduate Studies and the Chairperson of the LOC for this conference, Professor Besisara Dakwa. Please, you can give a round of applause for her. We also have the LOC co-chair being the Deputy Director for Drake and UCC, Professor Dokaso Briyeboa. Please, a round of applause for her. We have the Vice Dean for the School of Graduate Studies, Professor Rufino Sugli is also here. You can give it a round of applause for him. Dr. Kofi Echian Owusu, also helping as an LOC member. Please, a round of applause for him. We also have Dr. Andrew J. Droyer. Yes, a round of applause for him, please. Thank you very much. And Dr. Mrs. Mavis Opokubuedu, here with us, also the accountant of the School of Graduate Studies here with us, Auntie Mavis, we call her. Please, a round of applause for them. We also have Mr. John Yen, also part of the LOC Secretary. A round of applause for him. Mr. Isaac Yeboah Intiful, also Assistant Registrar at the Faculty of Law, part of the LOC. A round of applause for him. Mr. Robert Ipin Nankom, Grasag UCC President, also here with us. A round of applause for him. And the Vice President of Grasag UCC, Ms. Felicia Adams, also part of the LOC. Right, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes, so a group photograph, yes. So you can join us. Yes. Special request from the LOC co-chair. You can join us. You stand at the back. Yes, and sorry, forgive me, Mr. Sandy Kumi Sinatra, also an LOC member, please. A round of applause for him. Yes. This is happening because of the work they are doing. And today is his birthday. Oh, happy birthday to you. Yes, Mr. Sandy. And we pray that God grants you the best of all you've ever wished for. Please, a group photo so you can join us. Special request.